Welcome to the Let's Grow Annual Challenge Day 203. Today we are talking about financial growth like we have been this entire month, and we're focusing on financial growth and thinking about it in terms of the Lifeline exercise. We've talked about the Lifeline exercise. I've talked about it, shared it, taught it since 2020 and the craziness of the pandemic. During part of the Get Up and Go challenge, every other month we did a 30-plus day challenge to get us up, going, and moving and doing things that we could do in a time when so many things were restricted and we were shut down. There were a lot of things we weren't allowed to do. So one of the things I did was doing every other month, I did a 30-day challenge. In addition to that, I was taking some online courses and doing online trainings just to keep moving forward. And I joined a coaching program that was all about core skills. And two of the core skills I took away from that training and that coaching and added to the life framework that I use to kind of take the craziness of our lives and all the chaos that can ensue and add a little structure to it so that I could have control over my thoughts, control over my feelings, control over my spirit, control over the 9 areas and aspects of my life. I went from 7 that I'd learned from Jim Rohn and Tony Robbins back in the I think it was the 70s. I say the 80s, but I actually think it was in the late 1970s that I first was exposed to it. And I decided, life can be pretty complicated, but if we can put a framework around the things and we can put them in little buckets or think about them in different areas and then ask ourselves, how do they interact? We can actually consciously choose how we want some of those things to be. So, of course, financial health, financial wealth, financial well-being, financial growth is one of the primary categories. Why? Because the world runs on resources and money, and we could say what we want, but the more of it we have, the more freedom and flexibility we have to do and be and have the things we want to. So, Lifeline exercise. Write up guide 2 of the Let's Grow Annual Challenge private Facebook group page is about Aval's story of applying the Lifeline tool or exercise, whichever term you prefer. I know a lot of people don't want to hear the word exercise because they don't want to think we actually have to do something in order to get what we want. So Lifeline exercise, here's the one I started using in the 1920s when I wasn't born yet, in 2020 during the pandemic. And it just is the year I was born, yes, 1960, and then an arrow on the other end to go to 2024 and beyond. Now, it looks like in about 2020, during the pandemic, I stopped adding to this because it's not the most useful, best graphic I could possibly have. It's not even written backwards. How lame is that? So I use it to demonstrate that you can just grab a piece of paper, you can grab a piece of cardboard, and you just write on it by the year it happened, key events and key things that have key experiences that you've had in your lifetime so far, right? And I just added the birth of my granddaughters because those were after 2020 and things like that. But I actually have a giant, those poster boards you can get at Walmart or Target that kids do projects on for science fairs and things, or for social studies. I remember doing them for that, or for whatever class. And they're like a bifold. They have 2 folds. It makes a big place in the middle and then 2 more, doubles the size. That's what I've got my Lifeline exercise on right now. And I can't obviously pick that up and show you. Nobody wants that many details of my life anyway. But once we get those events on there, we're going to ask ourselves, financially, how did that impact me? Was I growing financially or was I declining financially? I shared before different events where I had like financial devastation. One was my sudden cardiac arrest. I was not prepared for that financially at that time. And it took me about a decade to unbury myself from that fiasco and mess. It's better to take care of ourselves and take care of our health and not have massive health challenges if at all possible. Now, are some of those things outside of our control? Why, of course they are. But if we control the things we can control, mainly the way we think about things, our stress, our mindset, our perspective, our belief in ourselves, our confidence, then we're more likely to have, and if we have a challenge, we're more likely to get through it faster and easier than if we didn't have some of these tools that we're talking about today. So we're going to look at those events and graph on our chart, high or low, positive or negative, the impact that event had on our financial growth. we're just going to do it today and look at it and think about it and understand and look for lessons learned and look for things that we've done really, really well so we can do more of those, and areas and things and events that tipped us off the financial growth wagon, and we want to make sure that we find ways to prevent those from happening in the future. One of the most important things I did and have done is I created an emergency fund. An emergency fund, so if something comes up and it's an emergency and I need resources now, that fund is available to cover that, and I don't have to worry about it anymore. It takes a huge load of stress off of us when we know that we're covered. It's why I loved working in corporate America, but having my own businesses on the side. It wasn't stressful. The normal stuff that would make people fearful and fear they were going to lose their job if they made a decision that they didn't think was going to be popular, it took a lot of that fear of risk away from me. And I have applied that to other areas and aspects of my life too, with the exception of being insurance prepared when I had a cardiac arrest. Didn't plan on having a cardiac arrest, obviously. We all think we're invincible. So our action item today is just to do this. Look at, and you've probably, if you've been doing the challenge with me this year, you've already got your lifeline mapped out. So it's just a matter of plotting on the financial growth impact onto your existing chart. But if you haven't, there's a lot of information in the Get Up and Go Challenge private Facebook group page, as well as the Let's Grow Annual Challenge private Facebook group page. You can go and search on either one of those. If you're a member of the pages, of course, or the groups, of course, and most people are not, you can search and get tons of information on how to do the Lifeline exercise, plus last year and this year, examples of other people applying and using it. Actually, that's just this year, examples of people using it, stories of people using it, and how they applied it in their life. Side note here, I used the name Avril today for our story and guide too. I am not talking about my friend Avril Beckford, although she's awesome and wonderful. I have no idea what her financial growth story is, or if she's ever even done the Lifeline exercise. I suspect she probably has. She's a pretty cool lady. All right. Any questions? You ask. Otherwise, have an awesome day, and I'll, of course, be with you tomorrow.